right, guys, welcome to another edition of Texans Unfiltered. We are blessed to be joined by Antonio Cromartie. David, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me today. I'm super excited to talk to you. I see a potential cornerback one.
Can move very well, can play man-to-man very well.
I think that he is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
He does things that are so amazing, and the competitor in him is just special.
I'm excited, man, and I can't wait to get there. I think it does really fit my skill set.
All right, welcome to Texans Unfiltered. My name is John Wade. I am tonight with Patrick Storm joining me, and I don't know why he's yelling no. Why are you yelling no? Pat, you there?
Why is this not working?
I can hear you. You're yelling. All right. Welcome to Texans Unfiltered. We were having just a couple, because we have a guest co-host today. It looks like he's having just a little bit of technical issues. I can hear everything that he is doing, messing with his mic. So I apologize for that.
There we go.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
You know, I'm a Texans fan. I don't know exactly how to say anything right now.
It's been rough.
Oh man. Follow us at Houston FB Pod. Follow at Pat Storm TU. Follow me at John A. Wade 3. I don't know James's Twitter handle anymore because he just switched it up, and he's taking the night off, so he's not here to tell you. And I can't blame him for taking the night off. So me and Pat, we're just going to kind of free will it tonight. I didn't write a script because honestly, I didn't care after that embarrassment of a game.
Yeah, it's I had low expectations going into it, and they somehow decided to go lower. So,
you know, I didn't expect to win. I even texted my brother. It's like, y'all are going to roll us. My brother's a huge Packers fan, and he's also one of the most annoying people on earth. And I love him dearly, but he's my brother, so I get to say that. He's annoying as all piss. And I'm like, y'all are going to kick the shit out of us. And even with that as my mindset going in, the Texans still managed to one-up that.
Mm-hmm. They definitely did. I mean, I expected Devontae Adams to have a decent game and Aaron Rodgers to have, a really good game. But when you've got a rookie linebacker that comes in and completely shuts down your tight ends and is wrecking the game, and you've got Roby goes out in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then you've got Phillip Gaines playing 95% of the snaps, it's going to be a long day.
Why is Phillip Gaines still on the team?
It's a very good question. But you could ask the same question as why is Mike Devlin still the offensive line coach?
Oh, dude. I know you watched the conference today. Hey, chat, did y'all watch the press conference today?
It was bad. Really bad. You learned a lot of things about some of the assistant coaches today, for sure.
Devlin I mean, you already knew he was an embarrassment as a coach by just watching our offensive line that we have sunk more resources in than probably any other team in the National Football League go out there and perform the way that they have. Granted, Tunsil, he's good. Like, Tunsil's really good. And
yeah, you look at, especially with the way Tunsil's been playing, like you can just go back and watch the film and see, like, he's had times where he's blocked two people by himself, right? Like, he's done a very good job of picking up stunts. He's done a very good job of, just doing his job almost to perfection. And Mike Devlin today says in the press conference that he's learned how a tackle should play from Laramie Tunsil. Like, dude, you've been doing this for how long, and you're just now learning what a tackle should be doing?
Like, it's absolutely embarrassing. It's like when he was like, I wish I could take those techniques and teach them to the younger guys. Yeah, that's your job, dude.
Yeah,
like,
you should have been doing this the whole time.
Your job.
So what have you been doing?
Titus Howard, I mean, he's looked great. He really has. Like, he is the best tackle to come out of that draft. Whomever decided to take him, I am sorry that I've probably said bad things about you, but I'm glad you did. So, not upset with Howard. However, what we're doing to the interior of our line right now should, in of itself, get you fired on the spot. You
Yeah,
got
it's been
Sharping,
bad.
who was our consensus third best offensive lineman coming into the season. Like, that was consensus. That's not just all of us saying that. That was national media, anybody that's watched the team, to watch out that Sharping's one of those players that could take a jump. Instead, yeah, he's coming in and he's having a little bit of a sophomore slump, and they bench him for Kelmente. Kelmente he's a good spot lineman. Even back to his days on the Saints. If you get him in for a quarter or two, if you need to cover for an injury for a little bit, he's good. But Kelmente is just not a starter in the NFL. And Sharping, who has got a very high ceiling, he had a pretty high floor. Instead, they're just benching him, not letting him play, not letting him get as many reps in practice. Like, what on earth are they doing with him?
Yeah, I don't know, because like, and any of the guy, and I don't know, so I don't know how to interpret this, because any of the guys that I've talked to say that Max has done very well in practice, right? And that they're very surprised by the fact that he's not playing. But then again, you look at who's rushing the passer on this team, and those guys aren't very good. So what does that mean? Really, in essence, like, what is Max doing? Like, is Max stonewalling practice squad players, or is he stonewalling JJ Watt? Well, we know he's not stonewalling JJ Watt because he's not going against JJ. He's going against guys like Brandon Dunn and PJ Hall, stuff like that. So it's one of those things. It's very frustrating when you've got a guy who had a great rookie season, who no one was really expecting anything out of, and now you're putting in the veteran that's playing like dog crap. Like, why? Like, why not let him go out there and like learn from his mistakes? How else is he going to learn than getting game reps? Because he's not getting the reps in practice, right? Like, practice reps are not complete or nowhere near what a game rep counts towards. And so,
my understanding is he's not even getting the starters reps in practice anymore.
Yeah, now Sanio is, and so it's like, what did he do? Who did he kill? Because like, that's the only reason he shouldn't be playing, is if he murdered somebody. I mean,
I get it. He came in. He was apparently a little undersized from what they wanted him to do. But dude, this has been a crazy offseason. And to take those reps away from him, and you're rewarding a player in Calamente. Again, he's fine. He's fine as a swing guard, but he shouldn't be a starter. And you're giving Calamente those starting reps, and you're giving him the starting practice reps from a guy with a much, much higher ceiling. And that's kind of criminal. And you know what? If they're going to keep Calamente for another year, then take the reps from Fulton. Because we know we're not going to keep Zach Fulton past this year.
Yeah, I would hope not. I mean, he's been abysmal this year. He's been worse than he was last year, and he wasn't even that great. So it's one of those. It's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. We know Zach is a decent center. We saw it last year when Nick went out for a few games. So we've seen what Zach can do at center, but Nick is a better center than Zach. So we're like, where do you have to put Zach now? You have to put him at guard, and well, that's going to be your Achilles heel. So it's I don't know. The offensive line is a mess, regardless of what they've invested in it.
I've also noticed a little bit of a trend. It's not just the offensive line. Everywhere, every level on this football team, except for the wide receivers and the quarterback, have taken a step back this year. Players that we expected to be average are below average. Players that we expected to be above average are not even average. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, the wide receivers have been okay. The running backs, mediocre at best. Yeah, I mean, they've been bad.
I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to throw David Johnson under the bus and say he's the worst running back in the league, even though statistically he is. But if you actually watch him, he's not getting any favors done to him by the offensive line. He's not getting any favors done to him by the scheme. Not saying that he's the worst in the league. I'm not saying that he's even mediocre, but he's definitely not been good.
Yeah, I try to do the film breakdown. What was it? 2 weeks ago now, and kind of show like what he's been dealing with. But you're right; he hasn't done himself any favors. And even the running back, today said that he's having issues. He's playing too tall, and he's not lowering down. He's not, he's just not playing like he should be. And I don't get like why does it take to week 7 to figure this stuff out to start correcting it? The guy's making how much a year? He should already know how to run, right? And you've been coaching running backs for how many years? You should know what needs to be done and how to fix this stuff. And then you go off and you say something, stuff about Duke and that y'all need to use Duke more. Well, why is it taking this long to do this stuff? Like, why is it taking to the bye week to where y'all are put in front of the media for y'all to start saying, oh, we need to fix this stuff? Well, duh, you've won one game. Like, what have y'all been doing this whole time? Like, I get it, Bill was fired, but that was 3 weeks ago now. And like y'all know that y'all are auditioning for your future jobs, right? Because you're not going to be here next year. It's going to get cleaned out. Like, everybody is gone. Like, I don't care who you are, you're gone next year. So like these guys need to be auditioning for their next job, and they're doing a terrible job of it. Terrible.
They're not breaking any of the habits. I mean, the brainwashing that was done to that coaching staff and to get everybody on the same-ish page is absolutely remarkable. Bill O'Brien's gone, but you would never know it. If you listen to those conferences, other than Romeo Crennel, the words that they are saying are the exact same thing that we're saying when Bill O'Brien was here. And they've got to take a risk. Now, granted, I get it. This is what Bill O'Brien tried to do with his coaching staff is what the Patriots do. As people prove themselves, you give them more to do. However, we've got essentially a rookie offensive coordinator and a rookie defensive coordinator and Romeo Crennel, who had to be talked out of retiring, leading the team right now, which is making our team significantly worse. Like, you don't have... honestly, if I was Cal McNair, and I even said this, and a rookie special teams coach as well, because why not?
Yeah, why not just throw one more coal in the fire?
We don't have strong leadership. We do not have strong leadership on the coaching staff. It was all shaped around Bill O'Brien, and you get rid of Bill O'Brien, and at this point, if they don't want to punt the season, they need to bring somebody else in as kind of like an interim football advisor. I mean, there's coaches out there that are not under contract. Something needs to be tried because we are further devaluing the players we have. We are those draft picks that we sent to Miami. Miami's got to be so grateful right now.
Yeah, because they're going to get the 5th overall pick.
It's just a complete and total mismanagement that starts with ownership. Honestly, Cal McNair should have fired Bill O'Brien after the Chiefs game. I said this at that time, and I still stand by it because no coach has ever recovered from blowing a lead like that. If you just look what happens to the Falcons. Like, they don't bounce back. There's something psychological about that. They overreact. Like, I get it. Like, you get that close and then have a meltdown. I get it. But at that point, that should have been the key to Cal. This isn't going to work. Of course, he's going to take it as the other way. We had a 24-point lead on the Chiefs. We're okay. Well, then when Bill O'Brien decides to promote Anthony Weaver, and then I don't know if he ever really did give TK the play calling, but to say he was going to give TK the play calling.
Neither does David Johnson.
And then trade for David Johnson. And then at that point, it's like Cal needed to step in and go, whoa, this all sounds horrible.
Yeah,
we did our best all offseason. Honestly, we really did, to try and look at the positives. But we went nuclear after the trade to Hopkins. I'm not sure if anybody in chat that was here remembers, I was pretty much in tears out of frustration. A, because we traded Hopkins, and B, because the return was shit, and we knew it was shit. But then we tried to pretend, not necessarily pretend, we tried to look on the positives. It's like, well, what's already been done has been done. However, maybe these players can prove themselves. Maybe we can get a solid player in the second round. And at this point, like every decision, like if you look at it, what was the worst possible outcome has happened.
Yeah, it's been bad. Like everyone after the Hop trade, I was like, all right, well, we don't need 2016 David Johnson. We need 2018 David Johnson. We're not even getting that, right? We're getting last year's David Johnson. Brandon Cooks has been okay. Randall Cobb has been okay. He's gotten better week by week, but I mean, it's just like, and then you got the guys like Eric Murray. You re-sign Witt to this big, huge deal. You re-sign Zach or you extend Zach, and it's like nothing could possibly go right for this team. Like literally nothing is going right at all, and I don't know what it is. They don't know. Obviously, they don't know what it is because hopefully they would have tried to fix it by now.
I've got a question for both you and chat along those lines. Tell me one player other than Deshaun Watson that has taken a step forward this year.
Tunsil
Was already awesome,
but he's gotten so much better. That's the crazy thing, is like he's cleaned everything up.
Okay, so Watson and Tunsil, two elite talents. Anybody else?
Yeah, maybe Fuller. Like somebody mentioned in the chat, maybe Fuller, just because he's stayed healthy. He's had some really strong games. And the drops they've been there. Like he hasn't dropped like a ton of passes. But he's still got some room for improvement, obviously. I mean, outside of that, man, I don't know. Like nobody.
Roby's playing better than last year, but I mean, he's not playing towards his career best. But I mean, Roby's been probably our best defensive player. I can get behind that. Watt is not in defensive MVP anymore, but he's still good. Fuller is the same as always. Titus, yeah, that's legitimate. Titus and Tunsil, yeah, they've both stepped up. But
Titus has still got a lot to work on.
Yeah, he does.
Like, I'm not gonna give Titus a pass just because he's kind of shut some guys down. There's still some very frustrating traits that he does, and if you go back and watch the film, it infuriates the crap out of me that you get a lot of times where you can sit there and look, and he's just standing around like he doesn't have a job, and like Deshaun's getting hit. It's like, man, what are you doing? Like, come on. But he hasn't even played a full season yet, so like I kind of give him the benefit of the doubt.
Essentially a rookie, and essentially my point is usually you can't expect for this much of your team to stay stagnant or to take step backs, and then be surprised that this is the outcome that we have.
Yeah, I agree.
And this may be just a very long way of trying to defend where we were at as a podcast, as a show, as a sports media, whatever we want to call ourselves. We were very, very optimistic. We were very optimistic coming in. And even going back and looking at everything, I still stand by a lot of that optimism. But this is tough. Like, this is really, really tough. Like, it's not been fun. Like, I don't think that you could predict as many people took step backs as they did. But at the same time, a lot of those, a lot of guys that I absolutely love that follow the Texans, like Rivers McCown, for example, or Jason Braddock, they were negative.
Very. I mean, and rightfully so, though. I mean, that's their job.
Right.
Like, that's their job. Their job is to be completely 100% unbiased and to hold the team accountable, right, for the public. Like, that's literally their job. And ours is kind of, we have like a happy medium where we got to kind of be optimistic and pleasant for the fans, but we got to kind of also be a little bit harsh. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have answers for this team, man.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's an absolute joke. But again, shout out to Rivers and Jason Braddock. Make sure you follow them if you don't. They are two of the best, and they were. I pointed them out because they were the two that were probably the most negative, and it was almost hurtful because I respect them so much. Because no one wants to be negative, but they were right. But they were definitely right, and yeah. Oh well. You have any other thoughts on the game or thoughts on this mess?
Yeah, I mean, I watched about a half of the game. I watched about the first half of it again on the all 22. Got super frustrated and had to shut it off because there was just there was no positive to come out of it. And one thing that really stuck out to me is that I don't want to call it a coaching thing, and it very well could be. It very well could be coaching. But there's an obvious disconnect in the secondary on either A, what type of coverage they're in, or two, what type of, just what defense they're running. Because the Devontae Adams touchdown where he basically just walks into the end zone, Murray was covering him, and Justin was on the opposite side of the field where he shouldn't have been. Like, Justin should have been over the top of Adams on every single freaking play, and he wasn't. And so either one, Justin misheard what the defense was supposed to be, and he was where he thought he was supposed to be, or two, there's just it's bad coaching, and he's not recognizing things like that. And I think that's been Justin's biggest fallback this year.
Yeah, and Lonnie Johnson looks absolutely lost at safety.
Yeah, and they're not going to move him back to corner. At least that's what Weaver said today. Even with Roby being out, they're going to roll with the guys they have, which is scary. I mean, but they don't have a choice because Conley's not coming back anytime soon. We know Phillip Gaines is this, so that means either John Reed is going to play and Phillip Gaines is going to sit, or they're just going to keep rolling with the same circus that they've been rolling with.
There was a good question that came up in chat that I want to kind of address. How much different do you think our record is with Hop?
I'm going to say add 2 more wins.
Really?
Yeah.
What 2?
Tennessee. And I want to say Minnesota, but they were losing. Well, yeah, I'll say Minnesota because the Texans were losing the whole time, and I feel like they could. Like, it would have been different having him out there. I don't think, like, I understand what Hop does. And I know, like, Hop's ability and everything like that. But if you look at the numbers, Deshaun is spreading the ball around so well right now that I'm not going to say he's missed, because obviously he is, right? Like, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. And so it's like, I gotta say 2, just because I don't see, I can't think of any scenarios where he just absolutely maybe takes over the game besides those 2 games.
I'm actually saying our record's not any different. As well as Watson's playing, the thing that I'm more frustrated now when looking at Hop, is that we didn't get more for him. And granted, that's always been the issue. But getting David Johnson instead of almost any other player at this point, because our run games wasn't going to succeed no matter who we put back there. And it's like, I love Hop, but we definitely way undersold him. Maybe we win one more game. Maybe. So Hopkins coming back through the building wouldn't change anything, and I miss him, and I definitely miss him. Like, I'm still heartbroken that we traded him, but I'm more upset than ever about the return.
Yeah. I mean, and this all boils back to, like, if they had just been able to keep Carlos Hyde, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, I mean, you change David Johnson for Pat Pete.
I don't think that trade even happens. Like, I honestly don't even think that trade even happens.
Oh, I think that the Cardinals back out at that point, but at that point, you just, a little flip like that would have made a huge difference. Because again, like our receivers are not the problem. Watson's not the problem. Like it's
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot of the blame on the offense at all. I don't put a whole lot of the blame. I mean, I'd say if you split the blame, I'd say maybe 15-85.
yeah. So I
because
did want to make sure that I wanted to put those thoughts out there. It's like, yes, Miss Hop, wish we didn't trade him. Still in 100% agreement that we got absolutely screwed on the return, but he wasn't going to win. He's not going to win us 4 games. Like we're not all of a sudden going to be one of the better teams in the NFL because it's really is coaching that is the issue right now. It is just we can't ask Deshaun to do anything more than he has. Like this is all we ever really wanted out of Deshaun. If he comes out and it's not yards, it's not yardage. We talked about this before the show that you have to look at his completion percentage, his passing rating, and just what they've asked him to do. The reason his yards are so high is because we're always playing from behind. And the other reason his yards are so high is we can't run the ball worth a damn.
Mm-hmm.
He has to throw the ball to move the ball. So Deshaun is doing everything possible. If you had told me at the beginning of the year, Deshaun's current stats, there's no way I think we're 1-6. And it's absolutely amazing. This is the thing that is the most amazing to me, that the quarterback is the most important position in sports. We've got a guy that is playing like a top 5 quarterback, and we're 1-6.
Yeah, it's tough because he's doing what's asked of him, and I don't think very much could change on, and yeah, he's still got some room for improvement. Obviously, he's not perfect. But yeah, if you look at, like you said, if you look at Deshaun's numbers, you're not looking at this team and saying, okay, they're 1-6. There's just no way.
Oh, well. It is what it is. However, I'm going to kind of move this over to, because you don't get to spend a lot of time on the show. So I want to ask you, what's your hopes for our coaching search and our GM search, how they're going to kind of go, what your hopes are and what you kind of expect. Starting off with, what do you hope happens with our GM and coach search?
I really hope that they don't just take a flyer on somebody, that they really do their homework. And that's what Corn Ferry is here for. That's what they're the guys that go out and do the vetting. Basically, they're the ones that make the phone calls and talk to previous people that these guys have worked with, former staff, players, that type of stuff, and really get a sense of where that person is and like where their head is headed. And like, what kind of direction they want to go as far as being, a professional and stuff like that. And I hope Cal really sits back and analyzes and listens to their opinion. And I hope to God that he takes zero advice from Jack Easterby, because Jack has been at the root of every single bad thing that has happened since he got here. The Clowney trade, the Hopkins trade, some of these contracts, like just bringing Brandon Cooks over. And I don't want to call the Brandon Cooks trade a bad trade, right? Because a second for Cook is maybe a little bit high, depending on what his final results are for the season and what happens after this year. But you really needed another receiver to kind of fill that role, to help fill out that role that you lost. And so it just, there's so many things that he's been a part of, and I don't want him to have his hands in the mix on bringing in somebody that's going to be in charge of this team, essentially, because that person still has to answer to him. And that scares the crap out of me. So my ultimate hope in all of this is that Jack Easterby gets fired before they hire anybody. Because right now, a lot of the talk is that a lot of the top candidates don't want to come to Houston because Jack is still here. And that scares me, right? So that means you're going to miss out on guys like Joe Ortiz. You're going to miss out on Mike Borgonzi. You're going to miss out on Ed Dodds. You could miss out on Joe Dorsey because Jack Easterby is still here. So I think that it has to be the absolute first move when the season is over. At the end of week 17, Jack Easterby gets called into Cal's office and told, pack your crap and get out of the stadium. But then, I mean, you know, like look at the potential candidates that are out there, man. There's a lot of young guys that have a really good reputation around the league. Like I said earlier, Joe Ortiz, Mike Borgonzi, Ed Dodds, Elliot Wolf is still out there. I mean, there's just so many potential people that you know, that could fill that role. Let me pull up my list that I had from the other night. All right, where'd it go? Of course, it would be gone. There it is. So Joe Ortiz, Mike Borgonzi, Ed Dodds, Will McClay, who's been in Dallas for years, right? Will McClay is from Houston. Dallas always drafts very well, right? And I think that he could be like a really solid hire if they could get somebody like that. I kind of threw Jeff Ireland's name out there, he's in New Orleans. And a lot of people kind of gave me a little bit of crap about it, but I feel like New Orleans does a very good job of filling out their roster year in and year out, whether it be the draft or free agency. And I feel like
a great candidate. When
he
came, they're in a very similar position that we are. And since he's gotten there, like their personnel department has completely changed.
Yeah.
They are very offensive heavy. They didn't have a lot of draft picks. They were in salary cap hell. And he came in, and granted, it may be the partnership, but that's not bad.
Yeah. So those are my top 5. They're going to interview, you know, some other people, and that type of stuff. But that would be, you know, that would be my top 5. And then of course, as far as head coach, I am 100% sold on Robert Saleh. Like, there's a video clip or a clip of him talking at the I want to call it a minority coaches summit, and that could be wrong, but he was speaking on, he got asked on how he would fill out his coaching staff, and just the way he explained everything and how humble he sounded and how self-aware he sounded, that he is obviously, like, he's good at what he does, but he's not the best at everything, and that he needs other people to fill in those other roles and those other coordinator positions. He needs people that are really, really good at what they do, in their specific areas, to fill out his staff to make everybody around him successful. Like, just 100% sold me. Now, of course, I wouldn't be mad at a guy like Eric Bieniemy, Matt Eberflus, Brian Daboll, and then I threw a kind of a wild card in there, and a lot of people just kind of gave me a weird look. But Mike Kafka would kind of be like my Joe Brady wild card pick.
Was that you I was talking about, where Salah with Kafka as the offensive coordinator is kind of like my dream?
That would be incredible. And people don't know who Kafka is, but he's the quarterback coach and the passing game coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he has had direct impact on the development of Patrick Mahomes and their passing game. So why not? Like, you got, I get Bieniemy, you know, he's been the offensive coordinator since 2017. So why not, you know, if you're so high on Bieniemy, why not Kafka?
I actually think Kafka, I don't know. Bieniemy's kind of one of those guys that he's earned it. He has definitely earned it. He's a player's guy. What he's done up in Kansas City, he has the resume for it. Granted, his resume it's a little bit concerning when you go back through and you look at it. I'm not sure if you've read James's article, but he did the research, and Bieniemy actually hasn't had a great record as a coach. So that's a little concerning. He didn't have a great record until he came to Kansas City. And then once he came to Kansas City, when you get matched up with Pat Mahomes, all of a sudden, yeah, of course you're going to look fantastic. However, I like Joe Brady. There's concerns there because this is only his first year as an offensive coordinator. He was the passing game coordinator for LSU, And granted, he has done a great job. If you look at what Carolina's doing, they really have done a great job. So I'm not upset with either one. I like Salah. I liked him a lot. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I think that he was probably my number one. I've cooled a little bit on Dabble. Probably a lot of bit on Dabble, honestly, over the past couple of weeks. But I like the idea of Salah because I think that he would bring an offense coordinator from the Shanahan tree, because the Shanahan tree is the most successful coaching tree and the most successful offensive coaching tree in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it as a tree, anybody that has similar success is a one-off coach that is not directly related to any sort of tree. Like there is no Patriots tree. There is no air raid tree in the NFL that works. There's no coaching tree that compares to the Shanahan tree with success. And you've got to remember, like, yes, we've been there before. Kubiak, of course, was a part of the Shanahan tree. But look at the success that entire coaching staff has had. Like, I can't think of another non-Super Bowl staff that has gone on to produce as many head coaches as that staff did from the Texans.
It's insane. Like, it's literally insane. Like, if you look at the coaches that are around the league right now and who has come out, it's mind-boggling the talent that has left Houston because of the incompetence of others and has gone on to have success elsewhere.
It's not necessarily even the incompetence. Like, if you look back on it, like, the only thing that you could have done is given Shanahan the head coaching position when he would have been the youngest ever. Like, you really, like, it is what it is. Kubiak had to go at that point. Like, and I love Coops. Like, don't get me wrong, but he had to go. Like, he couldn't be kept on. He had run his course. And Shanahan, of course, followed his dad. But the only way to have kept that together is to have hired Shanahan, and when he would have been the youngest by far ever head coach in the league, and you didn't know what he was going to turn into. So there, believe it or not, I don't feel like there was any incompetence handling that coaching staff. I just find it mind-numbingly crazy how good of a coaching staff that was. And we essentially missed out on having a solid head coach by just a couple of years, because there's many candidates that if Coobs holds it together, if Schaub doesn't have an implosion, doesn't get hurt, like, we probably have one of those guys as our head coach currently.
It's true. I mean, you very well could. I'm about to punch James in the face. James, get out of the chat and go off. And you're supposed to be off tonight. Leave us alone. Yeah, man. It's like Robert Salah was here. Who's the head coach in Green Bay right now?
Matt
LaFleur. Like, you've had all these guys that have been here at one point or another time, and now all of a sudden are killing it elsewhere. And it just sucks to see that you've had to suffer to see what you screwed up. So
yeah. We were so close to actually having the McNair dream of being the Steelers with the same, where you have that same coaching tree. Like, if you take Tomlin for every guy that he's worked for, like, the Steelers have never had a hard reset. So close. But, a stroke and a quarterback imploding, that's kind of what did the Texans in, and it's absolutely insane. And I honestly, though, I think that that's the strongest coaching tree out there by far. And if we're going to go with one, I would go with that one. I just don't know of a one-off coach like Joe Brady that I feel the same comfort level, but I mean, maybe. Like, I think that Brady is probably I'm actually, James is bringing me over to that side where I think that he is the highest potential of any coaching out there, but it relies so much on the assistant coaches that he's able to bring in. And what you're saying about Easterby scaring everybody away, why wouldn't an experienced coach come with Brady? Like, I think Brady does it because he gets offered a head coach job. Like if you're in that position, you get offered a head coaching job, you're going to take it. That's the same with any of the younger GM candidates. If they get offered it, they're going to take it. That it doesn't matter about Easterby. But the guys that you need to help make them, the guys that you need to come in with them that would be supportive, they be scared off of Easterby. And that's what kind of concerns me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to several people about it. And I've talked to people in the building that are just, they don't understand why the guy is there. And it's like when you have people that are working with this guy on the daily and they don't understand why he's there, like what does that tell you? Like why in the hell is this guy still employed? And I get that they want to have some semblance of a GM. But it's like there's other people that I feel like in the building that could have handled this.
Please, if the McDaniels-Cesario hire, if we end up doing that, that's one of the few things that actually
I can tell you right now, 100%. If Nick Caserio is hired here as the GM, Josh McDaniels is not coming with him as the head coach.
Oh wow,
it's not happening. It just will not happen.
Okay, well that's a little bit of a bomb, but I will take that.
James is full of crap.
All right. Well, you got anything else you want to share with us? Any other like coaching rumors or any other player rumors or anything else going on? I mean, I guess, damn it, I don't really want to talk about this, but do you think anybody's going to get traded?
I don't see it. Like I can't see it. They don't have. They're taking they're taking phone calls, right? But unless they're absolutely blown away and they know that the offer that they're getting is really, really good and in their favor, they're not taking it. They're not going to take a 3rd round pick for JJ Watt. And they're not going to take a 5th round pick for Will Fuller. Like they're not doing this stuff because they want to keep Will here. They want to keep JJ here. Sorry, I've got 2 kids that are supposed to be in bed right now that are up running around. But you know, it's unless they're absolutely just blown away by something, I can't see it. Because and like this JJ Watt to Seattle thing, right? Like I know everyone's asked. I've got like 4 messages from it. James said something in the chat earlier about it that JJ was going to Seattle. Seattle has 4 draft picks next year. They have 4. What are they giving Houston that's of any value besides Jamal Adams, Russell Westbrook or Russell Wilson? DK Metcalf, maybe. I mean, are they doing that? But no, like Seattle has absolutely like 0 draft capital to trade to Houston for next year to make that offer even attractive. So
Yeah, I'm sort of in agreement. Like that's when everybody starts tries to pretend that this is Madden. Unfortunately, in the NFL, we don't see midseason blockbuster trades that often. They have been more frequent in the past couple of years, but right now, do we really trust our GM to do anything correctly? Like, is there anybody in the entire franchise right now that we actually trust to make the right moves when it comes to this? So at this point, I just don't see it happening. Then again, I've been already proven wrong by Cal McNair on what he will allow them to do. So would I be surprised? Not really. If you ask me based on my gut and just kind of reading the tea leaves that I get, nothing's going to happen because nobody's going to offer the Texans anything that'll make them actually want to do it. Because they are actually kind of in agreement with us. Like they think that they are better than a 1-6 team. And I honestly, I think that is a very fair take that they are better than 1-6. They are just so poorly coached right now. And there's such a lack of leadership that their coaching staff sure as hell deserves the 1-6, but I don't think the players actually do. I just have that much regression and so forth. And I know I've already beat that horse dead, but I honestly don't put this on the players and I don't put this on the talent. The Texans are too talented. And if they get the right guys in, and the big if, like they should be a rather quick turnaround, especially because they have Deshaun.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with everything you just said. 100%. So, and I keep seeing, I'm going to tell Daniel. Daniel just commented that Houston isn't re-signing Will Fuller. Houston is planning on re-signing Will Fuller. Like they've told him that they want to keep him. So I don't think that he's going anywhere.
Yeah, maybe of the receivers we have, honestly, the only one that we probably won't have next year is Stills. That's my guess.
True. Very true. And Kiki.
Yeah, and Kiki. Well, granted, we get the right coach because Kiki's talented. Kiki's just been.
It's all in Kiki's head.
Yeah. And it's the same issue that apparently Sharping's having as well, as it's all in his head, which that to me is concerning. We have a I don't know, priest running the team, and yet we have two guys that have huge mental issues. You would think, if nothing else, that we would have below average talent players, but everybody's head was on straight. Instead, we've got teams that we have talented players who just can't get their heads on straight.
Yeah, you've got a character coach here that obviously can't do anything about these guys' character because they're still having issues with it. So this is one of the monsters that's running around in the background, by the way, guys. I'm sorry. Actually, I've got both of them right here. It's just one of those nights in the storm house, guys. Sorry. Say hi. Say hi to everybody watching. No? All right.
All right. Anything else? Any other like whispers or secrets out there that you're able to share that you think people would find interesting?
I'm trying to think, man. It's been a long week so far. Hey.
How you guys doing?
Hey, Jordan's here.
Oh, they
How's the night going?
It's going. Yeah, man, there's nothing really happening right now that needs to be known. Just a lot of chatter and a lot of crap. So,
well, that's a little bit of a bummer. Don't we have to do like a promo or something? James didn't leave me any instructions. Oh yeah. Manscaped promo code Texans. I don't have a dry read because I didn't think of anything. So there you go. Get one. Would be very, very appreciated. Get one. Your wife would probably be appreciated as well. And use the promo code Texans. I think we need only like 2 more. So if like no joke, 1 or 2 of y'all just go ahead and buy something from them. Type in Texans. Then we get locked in until April, and I will be your best friend if you do so. That's all I got.
I'll tell you one thing, that one of the products, the ball wipes, magical.
You've used them?
Magical. Magical. Best
Nice.
$8 I've ever spent.
Okay. I might have to do that. We just got to have fun with it. We got to enjoy it. All right, Jordan, you got questions for us? Maybe we have.
Yep. Got a lot of questions today. Let me find them.
By the way, don't read Cody's.
Oh God, Cody Johnson, that one.
Oh, I'm gonna have to use this.
Sorry, Cody. Okay.
Our promo. Sorry. Just gonna throw it in. Last thing about Manscaped. Get Manscaped like Houston's D every game. Read that however you want. I appreciate that one.
All right, we're gonna get into the questions here. The first one's gonna be from Chris, 9787190. He says, thoughts on the coaching interviews today. So he means all the pressers, assistant coaches, everyone. It was hilarious how incompetent they are, and I think incompetent is a pretty great word. John, what are your quick thoughts on all the pressers today?
You missed the beginning of the show.
Oh shit! You already talked about it,
dude. I mean, I was even better in Google, just expressing my frustration with it. Like specifically Devlin. Like,
oh my god.
Let's see if I mean, you know what? I'm gonna earn our explicit rating on this one. Jesus fucking Christ, dude! You are a coach, an offensive line coach in the NFL for over a decade. And you're going to tell me, oh, I wish I could teach that technique that Tunsil has to some of the younger guys. Like, yeah, that's your job. You can't teach them the talent, but you can teach them the technique. Like, seriously, that is your job.
Yeah, he did not word his answers very well. I get where he's coming from. Tunsil is amazing. He's proving he's the best left tackle in the league, but there's always something that you can do to get him better and improve the rest of the guys on the line. Devlin, he's got to be the first position coach to go for sure. I think the one that really stood out to me, and someone said in the chat, but the DB coach. The DB coach praised Vernon Hargreaves.
Coach Lynn.
What? I'm sorry. Has he not been watching this team at all? He must be talking about a different Vernon Hargreaves in a different sport, because that dude is hot trash. Oh my God. All right. This next one's for you, Pat.
Well, I mean, as James just pointed out, in his defense, Hargreaves is having the best. He is having a career year right now.
Here's the thing. I think he has like a career high in PBUs or something like that, and I think his career high in catch percentage allowed or whatever. But he's being thrown at so freaking much that it's bound to happen that you're getting a finger on the ball once or twice. And the thing that I've noticed, especially in the last few games, so many times quarterbacks are overthrowing his man. So many times. And it's just, I don't know how he's getting that lucky, but that's how most of it is.
Every time.
I know, and he's celebrating.
Happy.
He looks like
You looked out,
time.
and you are on the ground, and you're on the ground, you are burnt toast, and you get up and you're doing the incomplete. Like, if our defensive back coach, I mean, Coach Lynn has a future in this league, supposedly. Heard good things about him. I've lost all that respect, though, for him saying that and not. Honestly, when Hargreaves got up off the ground doing that, like, he should have been benched right then and there. Like, he didn't do anything, and he's over there celebrating, and we're losing.
I would love to see if Vernon Hargreaves ever gets an interception and he gets the turnover belt. Oh, he's going to do some wild shit.
He's not going to know what to do when he catches the ball because he's never done it before.
Nope.
He's going to run to the wrong end zone.
Oh man. All right. He's been enough of a punching bag. Let's move on. This next one comes from Romeo Cornell time. He says, NFL comp for Isaiah Coulter, and what could he bring to this offense that is unique when comparing his skills to some of our other wide receivers? What do you think about Coulter, Pat?
Oh, can I hop in?
Yeah, we'll get to you after, John.
I've got a perfect comp, though.
Go, John. Go.
Robert Woods.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, and I think that, until he gets out on the field and starts, actually catching the ball and stuff like that, it's going to be, James said DeAndre Hopkins. It's still yet to be seen. But anybody that I've talked to, and you heard John Barry today, that they are very high on him. So it's, we'll see. I mean, but then again, DeAnthony Lynn is high on Vernon Hargreaves. So I take anything these guys said today with a grain of salt.
No, Coulter, I remember when we drafted him, watching him. He is not Robert Woods yet, but he is a similar build, similar style. Can possibly, with some polish, play the same positions. Now, could that happen? That's usually best case when you do comps, because there's a lot of guys that have similar athletic profiles that never work out. Mm-hmm. But Coulter, he's the things that you can't work on have been given to him, like speed, size, ability to catch the ball. The things that he doesn't have are things that can be worked on, which is usually our favorite types of prospects. So we'll see. But yeah, he could be a very good receiver, or, there's a lot of guys that are out there that, especially with wide receivers, that have all the talent in the world, but are never able to put it together.
Yeah, I have high hopes for him, but we got to also keep in mind he was a 5th or 6th round pick from Rhode Island. The odds for him, he's got to beat the odds for sure. And there's no reason why he can't. If I were to give him a comp, I would say Kenny Stills. That was my comp earlier in the season. He's got the speed. He's got good enough size. He's a big play guy. He's a decent route runner. He can really do a little bit of everything. He might not specialize in one exact thing, but he's going to give you everything that you want. And so I'm really high on Coulter. Hopefully they activate him soon. All right, moving on. From Grayson Holmberg, he asks, you think we will look for any secondary help, and will Justin Reed ever be Justin Reed that we are used to? And there's a lot of questions here. Okay, so first thing we'll talk about is secondary help. Personally, I think we need a lot of secondary help. I think the only guys that are guaranteed to stay is Roby, in my opinion. That's the one building block. Everyone wants to say Jay Reed, and I love Jay Reed, but we haven't seen rookie Jay Reed in 2 years. Last year, he had the excuse, torn labrum. I totally get it. He battled through. I love that he did that. This year, what's his excuse? I don't think he has one. And none of us want him to play bad. None of us do. None of us hate the guy, but he's had a down year. And I think you're not looking to trade him. Like I'm sure Pat said today, that the Texans aren't looking to trade really anybody. But if you're going to field some calls for him, if people are going to call about him, you're going to listen. That's all I'm saying about Jay Reed. And so other than that, I think Roby's the only guy. Hopefully we re-sign Conley. Do you guys have any other names or positions that we should focus on for the secondary?
I'm cool starting completely over, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, Conley and Roby, I mean, this is what's sad and this is what's heartbreaking. Coming into the season, we thought we had decent above average depth at corner. But you move Lonnie to safety and he looks lost. So he must have been horrible at corner because he looks absolutely lost at safety. All of a sudden, our depth is hurt. Conley has a relatively minor ankle surgery, but there's something still wrong with it, which happens in surgery sometime. So now we're down 2 corners. Hopefully Roby's okay. Hopefully. And okay, now we're down 3 corners. So we're seeing the likes of Philip Gain.
They got to get John Reed out on the field.
And Vernon Hargraves as our top 2 corners. Like, yeah, this is bad. Like, John Reed, I mean, he looked good against the Chiefs. Like, he wasn't getting pass breakups, but he was sticking close enough. There's a reason why he got 7 tackles. Yeah, he was getting beat, but he was right there to clean it up. And sometimes that happens, especially when it's your first game in the NFL. So I don't see why they're not letting him play. Keon Crossan, he's one of those guys that I've always wondered why he didn't get more snaps at corner, because he can run with anybody. He may be one of the fastest players in the league. And yet, when they traded for him, they were like, he's a special teams guy that is established with a high upside at corner, yet they never let him play corner. So, I don't know. At this point, if he's not any good and Reed's not any good, and you really think that Hargraves and Gaines are our best 2 at this point, get rid of all of them. Like, obviously, because if they can't beat them out, then something's wrong.
Yeah, I definitely think those guys got to go. I think with the secondary, you got your outside corners in Conley and Roby, hopefully, right? It's the nickel position for me that is going to be really important to replace and upgrade on. And right now they're in a predicament because Bill O'Brien paid Eric Murray all the money that he did. And so right now they want to play him. They want to play him somewhere. They're not going to play him at safety, which is where he's best at, where he's honestly just decent, probably a little bit below average at. He's fine. He's not going to be a liability at safety. But you got Jay Reed and you got Lonnie there. So they're putting him at nickel, and he's horrible at nickel. I said that. The Browns played him at nickel. Don't play him at nickel. He's not great there. But then what are you going to do? Are you going to move him back to safety? Is Lonnie going to go? Is Jay Reed going to go? Or are you penciling yourself into Eric Murray for the next couple of years until his contract expires? I don't think that's going to be a good solution whatsoever. So they got to move on from him, whether it's back to safety or whether they're just have to deal with his contract and not play him. But he's definitely a big issue as well.
No, Eric Murray is not better than Gibson. I
forgot about Deshaun Gibson the other day. That brought back more pain.
Lots of pain there.
They can move on from Murray next year and only eat $5 million in dead cap. So
the fact that we have to eat any money for a player of that caliber is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
Horrible. Alrighty, next one from Martin Mariquin. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but he says, is it worth opening up cap space opening up some cap space in a type of like Osweiler type of deal that we did before, where we might have to send a late pick, or should we be compiling as many picks as possible? What are your thoughts on this, Pat?
I don't think you do anything right now, because all you're going to do is just make the incoming GM jobs harder, because he's going to have more holes to fill. He's going to be dealing with dead cap. Like it's just a number of different factors right now. Like this team is in almost as bad a shape as it was when Charlie Casserly left. than they've ever been. And so it's going to take somebody that's smart, methodical, and patient to come in and to fix this stuff. And so I don't think right now it's worth doing anything, because you're not gonna gain much. Yeah, you'll gain a little bit in cap space here, but if you're having to send picks out in order to get picks, it's not worth it in the end. Like you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's not how you build a roster.
Yeah, exactly. I think the big one that a lot of people talk about is Merciless. We don't know necessarily what we're going to get back for him, but the thing is, not after the season, but the season after that, we can cut him for just $3 million in dead cap, and so that's not a big hit whatsoever. It sucks that that we do take a hit, but that's where we can kind of get out of that contract. All right, moving on. All right, we're gonna get to Cody's. So Cody, our great friend Cody Johnson, he says, "Why is Eric Bieniemy overrated?" John, I know you're a Dabble guy, right? So let's hear your case against Bieniemy.
Just when Bieniemy has actually been a coach on his own. Just pretty much any time outside Andy Reid, he has not had a lot of success. He was at Colorado State. They didn't do so great. And then when you're with the Chiefs currently, like you're in the best of all world situations. You have Andy Reid. You had a lot of very talented coaches around him. And it's one of those things that I'm always kind of wary of. Like I'm always afraid of that hotshot coordinator that doesn't call plays. And he may be calling plays now, and that would help. But typically, one of the mistakes that almost seems obvious is when you take a coach that, if you look at their body of success, it usually repeats. Usually guys that don't have a lot of success don't magically become successful. And you have to look at their entire track record. One of the reasons that James is being able to convince me over on Brady is everywhere he goes has success. Wins a national championship. He goes to Carolina, and he's been given a roster where you thought that they were almost trying to tank this year based on that roster. And all of a sudden they're more than have puncher's chances in every single games, and Bridgewater looks like an amazing quarterback with him. So you got to look for that sort of pattern, not guys that go from mediocre, get with another really good guy, and then shoot up. And this is almost just playing devil's advocate on Bieniemy. Like, I don't think I would be disappointed if he was hired. Especially depending on what assistance he brings with him. And I think bringing a lot of those Andy Reid philosophies over with Deshaun could turn out to be a very positive thing. But he's not number one for me because of those red flags.
All right. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I think to kind of build off of what you're saying, because that really is my only concern as well. Look at the Bears and Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy was in Bieniemy's position 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember the exact years, but he was a Reid disciple. He was the offensive genius. He was a quote unquote no-brainer head coach hire, right? Why isn't this dude getting hired as a head coach? He goes over the Bears. They have a couple good offensive outputs, but right now you ask Bears fans and they are complaining about him. They say, sure, he's a good offensive mind, but he's a good head coach, but he's not a good play caller. And so I think you could be onto something. We don't know. Every coordinator is going to be different from Andy Reid, but they all do learn from him. So maybe that's something that he's not as good at teaching them about, is calling plays while also being the head coach.
Well, I'm a little bit afraid that it also kind of gets watered down after a while, because you had Doug Peterson, and then Nagy took over for Peterson, and then Bieniemy took over for Nagy. So Peterson has won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. He did an amazing job. So no disrespect to him, but the Eagles have struggled to maintain that level of success. And Nagy has gone into Chicago, and he was a part of the draft that took Trubisky, and that's the only reason why that roster hasn't just destroyed people because they shot themselves in the foot with a quarterback. But I don't know how that reflects on Benemy. Like, I honestly don't. Like, do they think that they can take any quarterback and make them successful? Do they? I honestly, to me, that's the biggest question. Because it's the third coordinator in like 6 years. So,
Yeah. Pat, you got any thoughts on this before I move on to the next question?
I just I wouldn't be mad at the hire, right? Like, I wouldn't be mad if Eric Bieniemy was hired, because everybody and anybody that's involved with football is telling us that he's supposed to be like this next great head coach, right? But my thing is, like, there is zero proof that he has the ability to install an offense that's successful, because we know he's not running his offense. He's running Andy Reid's offense. And I get it. They haven't really been successful until recently, right? But they also they had Travis Kelce. They had Tyreek Hill. Now they've got this guy named Patrick Mahomes that has just literally taken this offense and put it over the top. And I feel like if you put Patrick Mahomes on the other 31 teams in the NFL, they're going to be competitive, regardless of who's calling the plays. Just because he's so intelligent and he's so athletic and he's so good on the field that he makes everybody else around him, including the coaches, look better, right? And I'm not trying to knock anybody that's over there, right? I'm not trying to knock Bieniemy. I'm not trying to knock Andy Reid or any of the players. But Patrick Mahomes is the root of everything that is good that's going on in Kansas City. Not to mention that their defense has been bolstered by the likes of Chris Jones and like Tyrann Mathieu, and like just they've got some young guys, even rookies this year, that are playing extremely well on the defense, and so they look really good. They are just a well-built team, and I feel like that Bieniemy is kind of the benefactor of that. And so I don't like, again, like, I wouldn't hate the hire, but I just feel like there's somebody else out there that could be better.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill was a 5th rounder because of the trouble he got into college.
Yeah,
like, punching people,
not talent based at all.
Yeah,
I see where you guys are coming from. Bieniemy, he has all the talent that you could ever want as an offensive coordinator, and he has help from Reid. So he's put in a perfect situation. A lot of people like to say how Patrick Mahomes is put in a perfect situation. Bieniemy's put in a pretty damn perfect situation too. And so I get that he might not be someone who's gonna elevate mediocre talent to elite. But we are going to build this team around Deshaun. We are still going to pour in assets on the offensive side of the ball. So if we get a GM who has that same mindset, who's going to go get us our Travis Kelce, who's going to go get us our Tyreek Hill, put those weapons around him, where Bieniemy has those weapons to work with, then we don't really have that issue anymore. You know what I mean? And obviously you can't clone Tyreek Hill, you can't clone Travis Kelce, but all I'm saying is, like, the talent.
well, there was
can be
also
there.
a trust with the GM, with the coaching staff and the ownership, that they could take these guys that had character issues and bring them in.
Yeah.
Like, Kelce was a risk because he had microfracture surgery on his knee. So that's why he fell. Tyreek Hill was a risk because, I mean, he did some horrible stuff in college.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it was confirmed, but what was leaked out, like, it was pretty bad. And you have to take those. Dorsey was always good at taking those risks. So with those character guys, and that's having a trust in your coaching staff. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a big thing going forward is definitely the head coach and the GM having synergy, being on the same wavelength. And when we heard that from Bill O'Brien, but it's definitely still got to ring true. All right, moving on. Get to the last one here from Barry Allen 899. He said, in 6 out of 7 games this season, the Texans have scored 10 points or less in the first half. The one game we didn't, we got shut out in the second half. So why do we think this is such an issue with the offense, and how can they fix it? I think we'll start with you, Pat.
coaching. It all boils down to coaching. These guys, we heard it recently last year with Bill, and previously that they weren't prepared, and they're still not. They're still not prepared. They come out flat, and they can't drive the ball down the field on the opening drive. What do we have, like 7 points, 6 points on the opening drives this season? Something like that.
Insane.
It's a recipe for disaster. You're going to get beat by mediocre teams if you can't score early on in the game. You've got to be able to put up points. You got to keep your defense on the sideline, and they're not doing a good job of that at all. So I think it all just boils down to coaching, because we've said it time and time again. There's way too much talent on this roster to be where they're at.
Yeah. And it's something with the coaching philosophy too. They come out with usually about 12 scripted plays that are designed to find weaknesses in the defense, not necessarily to move the ball. And surprisingly, lots of times those 12 scripted plays actually do pretty well, but they're trying to test the defense to get them into personnel coverages that they like, except the Texans have tried to do that, but they've never had any success doing that. And you kept waiting, and that's where we kind of got lost in the buy-in that maybe it was the personnel, because again, like the Bill O'Brien Patriots systems, like there's not a lot of plays there. There's a lot of formations that hide the plays, but they run the same plays over and over and over again. And if you don't have the personnel to pull that off, your offense looks incredibly simple. So that's where we got sucked into this argument that it's like, okay, maybe it was the personnel. We don't have the guys. We don't have the right pieces to really do that. And the coaching staff seemed pretty bound and determined to do that style of offense. So we go out there and we're just trying to test the defense for the first drive or two, which leads to a bunch of 4-and-outs. And there may be something entirely towards the reason that only Tom Brady can run this offense, because you even look at right now with Cam. Granted, he was doing pretty well before COVID hit, but he got COVID. After COVID, he hasn't been the same player. But there may be something to that. You just had an all-time great quarterback running an offense that made the offense look better. And we dismissed it probably incorrectly now looking back, but that might have been it.
Yeah, and I think their whole thing about so the question was saying, like, scored in 6 out of 7 games this season, we have scored 10 or points less in the first half. So particularly like the first half struggles I've noticed is that we can't sustain drives, but because our defense can't stop drives either, the clock is just bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
We're never winning the time of possession battle, and because they can run all the time, they're getting 6, 7, 8 minute long drives, and that's killing the entire halves. And so we just don't even have that many chances on offense. Deshaun's not given the ball that many times, and the times that he does early in the game, like we've been saying, the scripted plays aren't working, and we're getting off the field real quick. And so it's just a combination of all those things, and that's just not a winning formula for football, and hopefully that does change going forward.
Yeah, but, and even you look at the Jacksonville game, they didn't win the time of possession game there, and they still won, but they won because Jacksonville is just a very bad team. But again, you couldn't stay on the field long enough to sustain drives and maintain time of possession. So you had to, it took a miracle for that game to even happen. I'm surprised they even won it, to be honest with you. And I was there.
All right, that's going to do it for all the questions. You guys can always ask me on Twitter a couple hours before the pod goes live. Appreciate y'all.
All righty. Well, I believe that is everything for this evening. Thanks again, Pat, for covering for James tonight. Jordan, as always, great to have you. Great to have your insight. Again, follow us at Houston FB Pod on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. If you're watching us right now, hopefully you've already found our YouTube channel. But otherwise, please go on there and subscribe. Give a second promo to Manscaped. Use the promo code Texans. We're very, very close to securing that contract, and we could really use it, and we would be very, very appreciative of it. You can follow me at John A. Wade and the number 3. However, I'm losing followers left and right because I'm starting to tweet about politics, and I'm going to tweet about politics because it's kind of important right now. I do appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.